Welcome to Never Again is Now, a podcast about antisemitism. I am Evelyn Marcus.
And I'm Phyllis Zimbler-Miller.
Jew hatred is rampant around the globe since the recent war in Israel began. Today, we'll hear how that affects the Jewish community in the Netherlands. Alon Keil is a Dutch attorney at law and entrepreneur in Amsterdam. He's a leader in the Jewish community there, and he publishes columns in various Dutch media. Last month, he wrote the column at jonet.nl titled, "Congratulations, Netherlands, we're leaving." In this column, he writes that many Dutch Jews don't feel at home anymore in the country they lived in for 400 years. Alon, welcome, and thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you for having me.
Alon, most of our listeners are from outside the Netherlands. Could you please give us a very brief overview of how big the Jewish community is there and briefly what its history is?
I will. We estimate, because we don't have exact figures, and I don't remember the last time an official survey was done on this topic, but we estimate that we roughly have 45,000 Jews located in the Netherlands, including Israelis, and what we call father Jews, logically not Jewish people. So roughly 45,000 Jews.
Okay, and what is briefly the history? How long are most Dutch Jews, for how long already in Holland, and what happened to them? How was life for them in Holland?
I think the first Jews actually came to the Netherlands after the destruction of the Second Temple. We know that in the southern of the Netherlands, I believe it was in Den Bosch, Zertogenbosch, the first Jews arrived there, but real small amounts. And then in the 15th century, a bit larger group of Ashkenazi Jews escaping Germany and Central Europe, came to the Netherlands. But the big immigration of Jews started at the 16th century, coming from Spain and Portugal, escaping the Spanish Inquisition. And I think this is what we believe the starting point of Judaism or Jewish life in the Netherlands. And that continued up to the Second World War. We estimated up to the Second World War, we had 140,000 Jews living in the Netherlands, mainly in Amsterdam. And after the Shoah, only 30,000 approximately remained. But exact figures are really hard to find.
But this is roughly what happened. So about 80% vanished during the Holocaust, right?
Yes.
What briefly is your family's history in the Netherlands?
Well, I come from a proud Amsterdam father, Jewish, and a proud Amsterdam Jew. My father's a proud Amsterdam Jew, and I specifically say Amsterdam Jew because here in the Netherlands we say either you're from Mokum, from Amsterdam, or you're from the Medina. You're coming from outside of Amsterdam, and we from Amsterdam we perceive ourselves different from the rest of the Netherlands. But in the end, we are, of course, all Jews. But Amsterdam is something we are proud of because the center focus of all Judaism in the Netherlands was mainly in Amsterdam, where all the big synagogues were, and life was really appealing for all the Jews up to the Second World War.
I'd like to throw in a little background for people who don't know as much. Number one, for those of you who don't know, Evelyn is a Dutch Jew herself, the daughter of Holocaust survivors, and came here in 2006 with her partner Rosa Ziegler to escape anti-Semitism. That's number one. Number two, my daughter, Yael, and I were in Amsterdam, May 4th and 5th, right? The Remembrance Day and the Liberation Day this year. And on the 5th, we met Daniel Liebskin, the designer of the Dutch names of the Holocaust victims. And we've had him on the show since. And that was very moving in terms of remembering the Dutch Jews. But my daughter and I were just talking about in the old Jewish neighborhood, the Portuguese synagogue is still there from hundreds of years ago. When you walk down that one street from the Jewish Museum, which I also want to give a plug for because it's so amazing, you see Stolpersteine after Stolpersteine of the Jews that were murdered in the Holocaust. And you really feel what it was like. And also that Rembrandt lived right around the corner on the canal, which is why so many of his subjects in his paintings are Jewish. Anyway, I wanted to give that commercial break of
No, but it's so good that you say that. We have Holocaust Remembrance Day in the Netherlands. The official day is on the 4th of May. Just explaining and also elaborating on what you're saying, it's very true. There's a Dutch newspaper. It's called Het Parool. And they had an activation thing within their papers, and they published in their papers around 4th of May all the Jewish homes in Amsterdam, and they requested their readers to put on the paper and to put it on the windows in their homes. So you could see which homes were Dutch Jewish or Amsterdam Jews living there and what happened after the World War. And it was amazing. We were walking through this neighborhood, exactly the same with the Stolpersteiner. You're walking through the neighborhood and you see all the Jewish houses up to the Second World, up to the Shoah. And it gives everybody shivers. Yeah, honestly.
And just one little more piece. On the evening of May 4th, Yael and I attended a memorial event in which Evelyn's rabbi spoke in Dutch, so we couldn't understand it. Evelyn, would you like to say his name? So it's just ironic.
That's Rabbi Menno ten Brink of the Reform Synagogue in Amsterdam.
Oh, he's a lovely, lovely man.
Yeah. So it was nice to be at that event. Anyway, Evelyn, next question.
So, Alon, what are Jews in the Netherlands experiencing since the war in Israel started on October 7?
I can summarize that I think in one sentence. Everybody's walking around with a knot in their stomach. This is a Dutch saying, but everybody is cramped at some point. And it, of course, has to do with the massacre that took place on the 7th of October. Nobody will forget that. And it also, of course, appeals to a older pain we all endured and all have regarding the Shoah. But what we faced from October 7th is, first of all, the event of the October 7th, and then everybody was shocked that it could take place in any case. How the shock was very, very big. But what happened afterwards is that people in the Netherlands they forgot about the event and started to spread more pro-Palestinian ideas, embracing also the pro-Palestinian propaganda. And that gave us as a community, first of all, not the time to digest what happened to Israel on the October 7th, but immediately it became a big discussion politically, but also in the media. And in the Netherlands, the mainstream media are mostly leftist media. And they spread more the word of the Palestinians rather than the Jewish community or the Israeli point of view, the Israeli view on the matters. So what happened is that it affected us also, of course, but everybody in the whole world, all Jews in the whole world, but it affected us dearly because, of course, Israel is part of our identity. And what happens in Israel, we care about that. But on top of that, you saw that the street, I call it the street, and I will elaborate on that part a little bit later, but the street didn't embrace our pain. Rather, they start fighting it and spreading all the propaganda they got from the Palestinian side.
Could you give us an example or a few
Yes.
examples?
There is just to explain something about the Netherlands. First of all, the political system here differs from the political system in the United States. So we have in the United States, you merely have Republicans and Democrats. Let's say, let's make it easy. But here we have several political parties, and they all have their own colors. From left to right, let's say. And what you saw is that mainly the left part of the political arena, they started to call up for a ceasefire in Israel immediately after the 7th of October. And then what made it's maybe very intense is that, of course, I think perhaps, I don't know if it's the same in the United States, but in Europe, we face a lot of immigration problems. And we have a large Muslim community in the bigger cities in the Netherlands. And they also spoke out on this matter and started to walk the streets and shouting anti-Israeli and even anti-Semitic phrases. And everything combined, we are feeling that October 7th is not one day, but is already enduring, I don't know, 45 days. So this knot in our stomach remains up to date.
Yes, what I have heard from friends, and they also sent me pictures, what was going on in their street, and I read the newspapers. I saw pictures of Free Palestine flags hanging, from the neighbors' windows left and right. I saw even Hamas flags being carried in pro-Palestinian
Yes.
protests. I saw, and there was even some violence against Jews going on.
Yes, there was, yes.
But let
Yes.
me clarify something. In some European countries, pro-Palestinian rallies have been banned. That is not true in the Netherlands. Is that correct?
Oh, no, it's not true. They permitted it. And this caused also a lot of criticism on the Dutch government, why they permit it, whereas in Germany, they forbid it, or even in other countries. But here they permitted it. But what, let's say, something very symbolic, and I think this started the whole feeling of not feeling at home anymore. After October 7th, the Dutch mayor, or the Amsterdam mayor, she wanted to hang the Israeli flag to show solidarity with Israel on October 7th. And that led to a lot of political discussions within the local government in Amsterdam. And she decided to take the flag off after one day. And most of the Jews, of course, live in Amsterdam, and they felt very insecure about this point because, of course, we all live together and we have to coexist with all people from all the backgrounds. But this was our pain. And at that moment, in my honest and humble opinion, she should have stood for Israel at that point and not take the flag off. And in Rotterdam, you saw the same. Even there, the mayor, who has a Moroccan background, he didn't even want to put up the flag. So this already started this unsafe and unsecure feeling within the Jewish communities here in the Netherlands.
Can I ask for a point of clarification for our American audiences? Is Holocaust education mandated throughout the Netherlands? And do the Muslim students go to these public schools where, if it's mandated, they are exposed to Holocaust education?
Well, Holocaust education is part of the curriculum in the Netherlands, but there was an article in the biggest Dutch newspaper that we have these Holocaust survivors going from school to school explaining what happened during the Holocaust. And now they started saying it doesn't, I'm not doing it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. People don't want to listen to it anymore. They don't care about history. They don't care what what the Jews endured in the Holocaust. Nobody wants to listen anymore. And yeah, that was rather sad, because if you don't understand your history, you don't have also a future in that sense.
Alan,
Thank you.
why did you write your column, Congratulations, Netherlands, we're leaving?
Yes.
Are Jews
Well,
leaving?
yeah, let's say honestly, not immediately, but a few weeks after October 7th, we talked about the events and the aftermath the whole day. There's nothing else to talk about. And then I encountered some friends and relatives that really told me, listen, I don't feel safe anymore. I don't feel safe, and I really am contemplating leaving the Netherlands. And everything at that point, what I also saw in the media, I will explain a little bit about that, but there is an Instagram platform. It's called Say Moklo. It's an Instagram platform catering the needs of the Moroccan society in Amsterdam, the culture and society. And they grew from 400,000 followers into over 1 million followers in 2 weeks, only because they started to spread this pro-Hamas and Palestinian propaganda. And then we saw it was so big, and what was happening also in the street with all these demonstrations, people are not feeling safe anymore, and they started thinking, okay, my father is, I found his family tree dates back to the early 16th century in Amsterdam. And all these people I know also have their roots in Amsterdam. But I think up to the 90s, Amsterdam or the Netherlands, the culture in the Netherlands was determined by Christian and Jewish values. And because of the mass immigration, you see that it shifts. The values are not the same anymore. They are replaced by other values. A tiny example, but I think it's important. Amsterdam, the phrase of Amsterdam was always Mokum up to the 90s. It was how do you call it, Bargoens? I don't know what's the English term.
Well, the Hebrewish Dutch.
Yeah, the Hebrew is Yiddish word for Amsterdam was Mokum,
Which means
Makom.
Makom, the place.
Yes, it's
Oh,
the place.
okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, Mokum. And it is replaced by Damsko because it refers to the Moroccan culture. So in the streets, nobody talks about Mokum anymore. They talk about Damsko. Then you see
What's
language are changing, values are changing, and then you encounter your own community, and then you see, okay, what will happen next? Because we are not a factor of importance anymore in this society. And we are replaced by other cultures, which is maybe logical and fine. And I don't have anything against that, but it started people thinking about their future here. And then I heard that some of them really are thinking about moving away.
And
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, and not necessarily to Israel. South America, I've heard everywhere, but not necessarily Israel, because also Israel is not a safe place anymore for Jews.
I I totally understand what you're saying. I'm one of those Jews who left already years ago for the same reasons, and maybe something to explain also is that there are about 45,000 Jews in the Netherlands. There are around 1 million Muslims in the Netherlands, and the percentage of people who hold anti-Semitic attitudes in that community is higher than 50%. So there is a lot of Muslim anti-Semitism, and that's also what you read in the newspapers. The incidents that happen are not only, but often coming from the Muslim community. So as a Jew, I felt overwhelmed by that and thought this can never become a safe place for us anymore. Why congratulate the Netherlands with that in the title of your column?
Yes, of course, a little bit sarcastic. But I combined a few things that caught my eye. First of all, in the political arena, in the Dutch government, there was a discussion about the phrase "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," and all the left parties agreed that this phrase is permissible to use within the Dutch government and also within the political discussions about Israel. And we all know what it stands for. It stands for extinguishing or the extinction of all the Jews in Israel. 7 million people need to be put or drowned in the sea. But all the left parties in the Netherlands, they agreed that this is permissible. And therefore, I started thinking, okay, why would you find this permissible? It's not okay. And this was the starting point of the column I wrote. And then I combined it with all the people that started telling me I don't feel safe anymore. And I want to leave the Netherlands. I don't want my children to grow up in the Netherlands anymore, even though my ancestors are already for over 400 years there.
Okay, I have another clarification. You wrote the column before the political landslide that just happened. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So if you were to write that column now, and could you explain to our viewers, has your view changed a little since the political landslide? And do explain to our viewers what happened.
Yes, I will. We had elections here in the Netherlands, and Geert Wilders, who is the leader of the PVV, is one of the political parties. He won not the majority, but a big part of the votes in the Netherlands. And he is a real big Israel fan, thank God, I must say. And he also defends Israel also on all the media, and he's invited on a lot of shows. And he really goes into everybody stating that Israel is on the wrong side. And then he really replies literally saying, then you don't understand anything about Israel and the Middle East, and you are defending the wrong side of the spectrum. And I respect him for that. What I find a little bit difficult is that on the other hand, he is not a very democratic party. The whole party evolves around only one person, and that's Mr. Wilders. And he's also rather anti-Muslim in his statements. And that makes it a little bit difficult to embrace him totally, because I don't believe that you need to be anti-anybody. You have to have respect for anybody. The same thing I also ask from my Muslim brothers and sisters, to respect me and my background, and to respect Israel as a state. But that makes it a little bit complicated. And now, answering your question, Of course, time heals all the wounds. That's also that saying. But if you give it a lot of time, then the pressure will be taken off a little bit. So what we now see is that October 7th is already 2 months old. The hostages are freed. There are not daily missiles sent to Israel from Gaza. And therefore, I think there is some relaxation in the day-to-day events or the stress Israel is facing. Not so totally, of course, because the ground war will continue in a few days, and not all the hostages are freed yet. But you see that people get used to the situation a little bit. But if Mr. Wilders will give us enough comfort to have the Jews stay in the Netherlands, I don't think so. In the end, no, because in the end we are facing a Muslim population that grows, and our population doesn't grow. Not from within itself. Maybe a lot of Israelis are coming, and maybe therefore we are growing. But the local Dutch Jewish population doesn't grow. It will only get less and less. And therefore also the infrastructure will become less, and it will be harder to find a way of Jewish life here in Amsterdam. So my conclusion is either you assimilate or you leave, because there is no other middle ground anymore.
Yeah, and there are a couple of factors that have brought us to that situation. One, of course, is the Holocaust that decimated us with 80%. Then mass immigration of people who don't like Jews in many cases. And even the fourth generation has those attitudes, so that doesn't seem to change very fast. And we maybe we assimilate also to a certain amount of people, of Jews are assimilating themselves. So not a bright future for Jews in the Netherlands is what you're saying.
No, not at all. The anti-Israel rhetorics and the anti-Semitism is growing very fast, enormously. And we see
that's
it.
That's not only coming from the Muslim population, right?
No, but I think the majority comes from there.
Mm-hmm.
If you see what the people were stating on this platform, say Mokro, Hitler didn't do his job well. I wish we had another Hitler in our times. All these kind of statements that nobody was talking about, nobody cared about, and it shocked us. Really, it shocked us. But I think because the communities, they blend also in together, so the Muslim and non-Muslim people are blending, and they embrace their views on the matter.
I wanted to ask about the college campuses just briefly. In the United States, our elite colleges are an absolute mess. In fact, 3 presidents, Harvard, MIT, and Penn, have been called to testify in front of Congress, I think on December 5th.
Because of the huge anti-Semitism and threats to Jewish students.
Yes. So what's going on in the Netherlands and college campuses at the moment after October 7th?
Same. Exactly the same. In the colleges, first of all, there are a lot of anti-Israel demonstrations in the universities, first of all. Second of all, you see a lot of professors and teachers in the university just spreading this anti-Semitic or anti-Israel propaganda. And Jewish people, I saw it with my own eyes, really. This is something. I have a friend whose son is studying law in my own university, for heaven's sake. And of course, everybody now communicates with WhatsApp groups. And he showed me the WhatsApp group his son was in, and they were discussing something about Israel. And the immediate comment thereafter, one of these guys said, "Shh, don't talk because we have Zionists in this group." This is how you. It's crazy that, and that's why I really feel that we have no option anymore. Either you assimilate, you don't have any Jewish identity, maybe within the four walls of your house, but not exterior anymore, or you leave. Because in the end, I know, and this is maybe something we realize, is that we are guests in all the countries of the world except for Israel.
Wow. What measures would the Netherlands need to take if it wants to keep the Jewish community? Theoretically.
I believe that there will always be Jewish life outside of Israel. Of course. In all the centuries and millennia, we lived in other countries. There were Jews living there, also in the most darkest times of the ages. And I think it's a dark time for Jews outside of Israel, and of course also in Israel. But let's hope that Israel will get stronger, or will get out stronger from this, and restore a good balance and peace. But outside of Israel, there will be Jews always living there. So there is not a discussion on keeping the Jews, because there will always be Jews outside of Israel, and also in the Netherlands.
But I mean to prevent them from leaving.
Can the government do anything to encourage?
Yeah, I understand the question, and I really am thinking about what to answer.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't have a specific. Of course, we need to be accepted by the Dutch people, but we are by the Dutch people. There is not a discussion on the real the Dutch people. There is a right-wing platform, and I read the platform the whole day because this is the only platform that really gives me good insights on what happens in Israel. It's called Geen Stijl. And there I see also the comments. And all these comments are very pro-Jews and pro-Israel, and it's not one or two persons, it's big community of people who are standing behind Israel. But this is maybe a third, half of the population. The other half is the left population, as I call them. I don't think we will change their views on Israel or on Judaism. I think at this moment, the Dutch government has more or less the right core values, also for us Jews to remain here. But I honestly believe, and this is something I foresee in the future, because of this million Muslim population living in the Netherlands, and also getting into the social system and the political system and the legal system, and at some point the things will shift, and the values will change also from the official bodies. If you ask what should be done to keep these Jewish communities, I don't think it's possible anymore. In the end, we are guests also in the Netherlands. It's too late for that.
It's interesting as an American, because I hear what you're saying, and I watch all these major universities establishing anti-Semitism committees as if that's going to solve it. But there are so many groups, because I monitor them in the United States, so many different Jewish groups working in all kinds of legal things, including what happens in elementary school. So, we are coming to the end of the interview, and I don't want to put you on the hot spot any longer, but it is interesting whether that kind of groundswell from the Jewish community in the Netherlands can help keep Jews there, or whether it's just time to say, let's figure out how we're going to pack our bags.
Well,
the difference between, sorry, Evelyn, but the
No, go
difference
ahead.
between the Netherlands and the United States is really a cultural difference. We are a culture of discussions and coalitions. We always find middle ground. We don't stand for absolute left or right. We need to combine all the elements and everybody and all the ideas and form a new type
Consensus.
of
Yeah.
Consensus.
consensus cake. But if you only live by consensus, you don't have any real stand. And that differs from the United States. I think in the United States you have your constitutions and the rights there are vested, and here all the constitutional rights are equal. And therefore we need always to discuss everything and to find middle ground. That makes it difficult and really different from the United States.
That's one thing I agree with you. And also a reason for Rosa and me, we had the opportunity to move to the United States. Most Europeans cannot move to the United States because they are not invited to come and work there. Rosa was. That's why. And we decided to grab that opportunity, although we left everybody and everything behind in Holland, because America has a different mentality than Europe.
Totally.
It fights back. Europeans usually hardly ever fight back. That also counts for the Jewish community. Jewish community also is very small, very traumatized by the Holocaust. So there is a kind of acceptance of whatever is going on, and not much fighting back. I tried when I was still in Holland to activate the Jewish community and other organizations more to fight back against the rising anti-Semitism, but the reaction was, well, what can we do? We're such a small group and you cannot change things anyway. You won't find that mentality a lot in America in general, and also not in the Jewish community. And also the Jewish community in America is bigger, also proportionally bigger than in the Netherlands, much bigger, and it's less traumatized from the Shoah, from the Holocaust. So, of course, there are a lot of Jews in America who have a Holocaust history, but not, let's say, the whole community.
I
So
think this is very important. I read the book, The Culture Map, in which it pointed out that in the Netherlands, consensus was very important.
yeah,
And we don't have that here.
no,
We really don't. So I think when you say, you just explained it, I really understand that the obstacles in the Netherlands, as opposed to here in the United States, we American Jews say, we're not going to be pushed out. We're going to work on this. So we're coming to the end of the interview. It's been fascinating, but what would you like to say that we haven't discussed yet?
Alon.
I don't have anything to say, but I'm also looking what happens in the United States at this moment, and I also see big demonstrations in the United States. And you're saying the American mentality also of the Jewish people we are not being kicked out. We are proud American Jews, and we belong here. What would you advise us in the Netherlands then, if you're hearing our struggles with the current situation? I'm really.
Who are you asking?
Both of you. What would you advise us to do?
Well, I have a question to ask. So the Louis Brandeis Center, which we've interviewed two people from there, they're using something called Title VI, and I'm not a lawyer, in the United States to challenge universities and schools on civil rights of Jews. So legitimately, do you in Holland, in the Netherlands, have that kind of legal infrastructure that you can go to universities and literally there have been lawsuits now suing them based on civil rights? If that doesn't exist, that's already such a huge obstacle for Jews in the Netherlands.
One of my dear friends, and he's a big influencer in the Netherlands, he's called David Besemer. He started let's say, the Civil Lawyers Jewish Defense League. And I'm also helping him out with that. But just like you have in the United States, somebody who's putting something anti-Semitic remarks online, immediately we send a letter to his employer, etc., etc. So we started to have a new infrastructure in place fighting anti-Semitism here in the Netherlands. And I hope it helps. It's a lot of work, but I really hope it helps. And it helps because I already see some good results out of it. And
Excellent.
the next step is also the universities for sure. It cannot be that our own students don't feel safe in universities, and there is no room for any kind of debate here. You are entitled to your opinion, but I'm also entitled to mine, and I'm also entitled to have a safe feeling within the university I'm in. So this is the next discussion we are having also here in the Netherlands.
So, for example, I have a mentoree who's a student at a two-year college, Santa Monica College, and she met, I won't go through the whole story, but with the president of the university, with an adult club advisor, they got nowhere. Then they went to Stand With Us, a major Jewish organization, and then the Stand With Us lawyer sent a 6-page letter of the legal ramifications, and changes are starting to be made so that Jewish university students have to know. I mean, I don't know if they exist in the Netherlands, but we're trying to get out the word that in the United States, you don't have to go alone. There are all these organizations that can fight for you, but you have to be willing to fight.
Yes, true.
And Stand With Us, a big American organization, also that helps Jewish students on campus against anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. Stand With Us has departments, branches in other countries and also in the Netherlands. So for Jewish students, that's good to know.
Yes, we are in contact with them.
Very good, very good. So
there might be some hope, is what I hope we're saying.
Of course, there's always hope. We will not be kicked out. And maybe I didn't explain myself right. I don't think it's a question of being kicked out. It's a question on where are you the most happy in the end. And then this is my conclusion. I think I'm most happy where I am at home and not a guest. I will never be kicked out. They have to drag me out of my house, and I will fight till the last breath I have. But this is not the case. I'm stating we should ask ourselves, but it's different from of course, in the United States it's very different. But we should ask ourselves in Europe, is there a future for Judaism in Europe? And on that part, I am a little bit more pessimistic.
Evelyn, is there anything you wanted to say before I thank our guest? I think this has been an amazing conversation.
I think, yeah, there's things to say, but I think it's time to wrap up, because we usually don't go on any longer than this time. So, Phyllis?
Yes, thank you so much, Ilan, for coming on the show, really, and being willing to kind of be a little bit on the hot seat. I mean, hope we didn't make it too hot. And we thank our listeners very much for listening. For those of you who want to know more about Evelyn and myself and our work, you can go to neveragainisnowpodcast.com. And as we end every show, we say, please, everyone, speak up against anti-Semitism and all hate.